Are we working? Are we working? Are we cracking jokes?
We working.
We're cracking jokes and we're working.
It works.
Can the show start before we do this? All right, y'all ready? Let's try this again.
Enjoy.
Clap me in. Welcome to Filter Free. I'm your host, Trey. I'm here with my boys, Conjo, Beacon, the R&B monk, Joaquin, and Bluetooth. So today's episode is what women need to know. I know this is going to be a little touchy, but guess what? We ain't your average show. We going to keep it 100% real. We may say some things you don't like. Somebody might be hated off at the end of this episode. Things happen.
Y'all would love me.
But we'd rather keep it 100 with you so you know that you're getting honest, real answers and real conversation. So if we look at the demographic of our cast, some of us are married, some of us are dating, some of us are single, and we got an age range from like 30 to a little over 30. So you're going to get worldly experience,
Right,
and a well-rounded picture and advice and just information. Funny though, yesterday Conjo and I were talking to someone, and we got to speaking on women not listening to what's being said, but hearing what they want to hear. So I think before we can actually get to what they need to know.
I don't know if I want to be a part of this.
No. Well, no. Because what happened was, we were literally having a conversation. Conjo went and got deep on us for a minute and dropped a couple.
He'll do that.
Couple bombs.
He'll do that.
Essentially, it was like, oh, nah, you ain't in a position to be able to get that information. Or, you know what I'm saying, hey, you're a black male, so other demographics of men don't necessarily apply or follow that same construct of laws. However, when you get to the guts of it, men are men. So at the core, there are certain things that ain't going to change. You can sugarcoat it, you can dress it up and make it look real cute, but at the core, it is what it is. So I think women, with this episode, do yourself a favor. Just listen. Just rock with it.
They're going to hear what they want to anyway.
If you don't like... This is true. But if you
so
don't
we're really
like...
just useless, right?
But if you don't like what you're hearing, that's perfectly fine. Comment, share,
we want to hear that.
Talk trash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let us know what it is that you disagree with.
You're going to disagree with
Listen, and I'm okay with you.
At least one of us.
Listen, every episode, somebody's the bad guy. Everybody has a role. Everybody plays a position. This guy was brought on the show for comic relief
the whole time too. I don't know why.
And to be the devil's advocate in a lot of situations. You know what I mean? But this is one of those things that, you know what, relationships, friendships, just interacting with the opposite sex ain't gonna get better until we can be real with ourselves and real with y'all.
Right.
This ain't a matter of us giving away game. This is just, hey, open your eyes and let's make it work.
No, this is about us giving away.
Maybe
You're not gonna give away all game.
And it's also
not all.
It's also like just men's perspective, because
Exactly.
that don't necessarily mean we're right.
No.
It doesn't.
It means what it looked like from where I'm sitting.
Right, exactly.
So, normally I pick on Conjo to get this started. But today, I'm going to do something a little different. Let's go holler at Beacon.
Hey.
Ain't no running, baby. Ain't no running. So, Beacon,
Yes, sir.
you going to get this show kicked off.
Okay.
So, in your estimation, aside from me saying, hey, women need to actually listen to what's being said
Amen.
and not hearing what they want to hear to fit their narrative,
Yes.
what do you think women need to know?
I think that women need to detach themselves from the way that society pushes on women to look at men.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we had another conversation yesterday with one of our really good female friends who happens to be in the room. And what I got from the conversation, so a dude approached her, asked her out. She didn't like the way that the guy was talking about taking her. But I knew right away it really didn't have nothing to do with the location.
Right.
Right?
Right away. The right man can take you to the wrong place.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right.
If it was the right dude, you'd have gone anywhere.
Right.
Sometimes the right man will purposely take you to the wrong place to see if
Even
you're the
just
right
to see.
woman.
That does happen. That does happen. But to backtrack on that a little bit, so a lot of times I think women expect that a date or a phone call or something needs to happen a certain kind of way for it to be real. And you put limitations on it, of course you're not going to end up with the right person, because he's going to come along. He doesn't know you. He's just doing what he thinks will impress you or will win you over or whatever. You got to give him a little bit of leeway in that, meet him halfway and give it a chance. Otherwise you miss the person that could be for you because he didn't ask me to the right place. So
this all stemmed from a text conversation. You can call it pre-production, if you will. Research. You can call it research.
Okay.
But apparently, men in California taking no woman on a date to get froyo.
Don't do
We
it.
don't do that on the East Coast.
Don't ask
Nobody's like, hey, babe, let's go get froyo. Hell no.
I won't say that.
Let me ask you a question, fellas. Do you think where you meet a person gives a woman a expectation of, hey, so I met this guy, he was working at the courthouse. Let's say he's an attorney. So him taking me to Chick-fil-A or the McDonald's to getting a Happy Meal is unacceptable. We should be going to Barton G, or we should be going to Crustaceans. Does the location you meet somebody at put expectation on what the date should or should not look like?
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is for this show or for the next show, but, because we're going to talk about what men need to know too, but everything is calculated in a woman's mind. That we don't care about most things, but whatever we're processing, they're processing 10 things as much as we're processing one.
Okay.
So everything their senses take in, everything, sight, sound, smells, everything is being calculated to figure things out. And all information that they're gathering is being used. So technically, yes, anything, where they meet you, what you're wearing, who you were with when they met you, were you sweating, like everything that they see.
Were you sweating?
He sweats easily. That means I can't.
Why?
Everything.
Most likely I'm sweating.
Most likely.
It's in the joke.
Yeah, most likely. So they're going to calculate everything into whatever decision that they make.
But should it though?
I think
that's
it's
the
a
problem, is
bad.
if you build
It
up
becomes a bias.
expectations.
It becomes a bias
You got to be
because
careful of building up expectations.
yeah,
I
because
think you're limiting your pool already. It's already limited anyway, and then you're making it even smaller for yourself if you're saying that I'm only going to give this certain pool of guys a pass who invite me to the right place and have the right shoes and have the right job and also say the right thing, and so what you're doing is really making it hard for yourself to find a man because it's already, the pool's already pretty shallow.
I'm afraid I'm at the shallow end of the gene pool.
Can I add to, if I add to what Bluetooth said, one thing that women need to know based on what you said about women are processing 10 things, men are processing one. The truth is, ladies, men, when it comes to approaching you, to asking you out, to most of us, like you don't get this set of dudes on a regular basis. Well, I mean, and I'm just being honest, most of us are idiots when it comes to that. We don't know what you like. We don't know what you're into. We're trying to figure it out. We stumble over ourselves and we're making the effort.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think has to be acknowledged in the process.
Yeah, there's no indication of
I would like to interject as the devil's advocate.
Hey.
That's why he's got on red, ladies.
We need you on that wall.
Yeah. Get him,
Okay,
dog.
so ladies, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Yes. Men, when they take you out, in our mind, we're wondering if we're going to get sex on the first date, second date, third date. When we going to get sex, right? So, if you ask a girl out to lunch or breakfast, you're letting her know that I'm giving you a scapegoat to not have sex with me. Because most likely we're not going to have midday sex. And we see what I'm saying?
So you're talking about pre-dates?
Yeah, so if I invite you to dinner, then it's not that it's my expectation to have sex, but it's my hope that if I take you to dinner, that I'm going to get some
Right,
at
it's
the
not
end
been
of the night, right?
Okay.
And if it doesn't happen, if you're a gentleman, you'll play it off and be like, oh, you know what? Give me the hug, whatever. And then in your mind, if she was cool, you'd be like, okay, so maybe next time I'm going to get the sex. Right? but this is honestly how men think. We're like, okay, I'm going to take this girl, I like her. I wonder if we're going to click enough for me to get some.
So if I'm understanding, hold on, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
If I'm understanding what you're saying, the predate. I know y'all hate that term.
Because it's
Shut
juvenile.
Up. Listen,
It's childish.
First of all, I didn't
predate.
ask if it was childish or juvenile. I'm just saying, unfortunately, in our culture and society, the predate is a real thing. So are you
I've
saying?
never heard of it.
It's
all right.
a real thing in
Neither has any
2019.
mature
The same way that they
but-
made freestyling writing about anything.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, but what's funny is there are a lot of women that prefer to like, hey, let's go to Starbucks and meet up
Right.
first.
It's
Before-
So we're talking about a mini.
Right.
Yeah,
But
but
it's still
before we
part
jump
of what
straight
the-
into
right.
dinner.
It's part of what the
Huh.
culture is now. It's like, okay, I'm gonna let you know that I'm interested in getting to know you and that there's no pressure for you.
Yeah.
So we go to Starbucks or we go to frozen yogurt or whatever to let you know that I'm actually trying to get to know you. And if it's good, then we can go out to dinner, have afterwards or whatever. But I'm letting you know there's no pressure in this situation. So I don't have to put on my best behavior and this and that. We can be real with each other because we're at a,
But also, why give it a title?
Biggest
though?
face.
Right,
Like,
right.
I don't
Okay,
think,
so
I don't think we need to even. If I was back in the dating game, I'm not. Sorry, ladies, I'm married.
Right.
But if I was in the dating game, I wouldn't even say the word date in a conversation.
Right.
Because I'm an adult. Why do we need to call it a
Yeah, we're
date?
grown people.
Do you want to have dinner with me tonight? Do you want to go get some frozen yogurt?
But
But
I-
they don't got to say, let's go on a date to the froyo place. That's silly.
That wouldn't be
But
a
see,
date.
you know what
That'd
I'm
be a predate.
That'd be a pre-date. Let's go on, so do we say that? Let's
Gotta
go
be
on
correct
a,
if
let's
we're
go on
gonna
a
talk
pre-date to Starbucks. And then if we like each other at Starbucks, then we can go on
Yeah.
an actual date
Okay.
date after the start. Like that's just
So-
that's all that stuff.
yeah.
Is, so why are we
but-
playing the game?
Well,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think it's a couple things to it. Number one, I don't know how many times we've either talking collectively, individually, or what have you. And the very first, we'll hear a story, and the first question we ask is, whose man's is this? Like, where they come from? Like, I don't know these dudes. Like, I'm an 80s baby, and most of us are. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up, hey, we going on a date. I'm doing flowers and all that. I'm picking you up. I'm taking you somewhere nice.
Right.
It's 2019. Most of these kids can't read, and they eating Tide Pods. Like, taking a woman on a date ain't what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
It's
And
generational too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
generational.
definitely
generational.
So, like I met this girl on Tinder, right? I'm gonna go ahead and tell her myself. Met her on Tinder. I took her to what's that public school? That restaurant with the pub? Yeah,
You
that.
went to a
Public
restaurant
school,
and
yeah.
met her on Tinder?
Listen.
You
I dropped.
This is a restaurant called
All right,
Public School?
man.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Speak to the floor.
So
I'm learning a whole lot right now.
listen, I did it. Like we all guilty of it. Whatever.
Okay.
No, we're not.
Okay, listen.
We're not all guilty.
I mean every man for this episode. All I'm saying is I did it. I took her on a date. We went to dinner. Dropped like 200. We went for a walk on the
To a
beach.
restaurant called Public School? Okay.
Yeah. During the beach portion, she revealed some things to me. Had I known during dinner, it wouldn't have been no beach. Like had I known during dinner, we probably had $100 bill. Real talk instead of the $200.
But what was the deciding factor between how much you were spending on
No,
dinner?
okay, no. So first of all, I didn't care how much I spent. I'm a fat kid. I like to eat, so I'm gonna spend money regardless. I'm just saying, in this situation, what was revealed to me during the walk on the beach was enough of a red flag, and I don't want to go into details.
No, we
in
don't have
case
to put
she
nobody out
see-
there.
in case she's watching. So, but I'm just saying, we did that, and I was like, wow. Had I known this in advance, I would have saved myself a few hours of wasted time with a situation I didn't need to be in.
But did you enjoy your time spent before that?
It was a little questionable. You know, I'm petty. Like,
All I'm saying is you were paying when you spent your money on an experience on dinner.
mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about what it's going to buy you, that's the problem with this entire idea of dating and all of this, like where it's going to go tomorrow, any of that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, first of all, if I'm gonna take you on a date, it's because I made the decision that I want to take you on a date.
Right.
So if it's good, bad, whatever, that's a after effect.
Exactly.
But I chose to go on a date. So like I know I'm joking a little bit, but no, like I wanted to do it. It was cool.
And you did.
It just didn't go as favorably because of the information that was revealed. Now
That's what I'm saying. That's just part of the process.
I've done some of these pre-dates to Starbucks and other places like that, and it was suggested by them, like, hey, let's go to lunch or whatever first so we can see if we actually vibe and click with each other.
And a lot of women suggest that.
That now. So for me, it's like I don't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? Like I actually think it's kind of semi-healthy since we're on like a speed.
Because it's casual, so you can laugh, you can wear your casual clothes.
Yeah, like,
if I wear my dress clothes,
yeah, like the representative isn't
I'm
there.
wearing my casual clothes.
Right.
I'm just
Why not have the representative?
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so what's
why not
the
just be
what's the
you?
purpose of a date? What's the purpose of a date?
So you get to know somebody.
But how
Okay, so why is it you're getting to know if you want to get to know somebody on a pre-date, but you're just gonna do the same thing on a date? Just take that term out
Because
of
there's
it.
different representatives. For instance,
Right,
we
but-
act differently when we go
clothes
to
make the
McDonald's.
man.
We act differently when we go
We
to
shouldn't
crustaceans.
though. We shouldn't though.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we
think
do.
we
Like,
should,
I got
yeah.
some
What-
blood in
what
me.
we
You know
should
what I'm saying?
not
And then I
do.
got some...
It's the same branding. It's the
You
same
know?
branding eating at
See,
McDonald's
okay,
as
wait a
it is
minute.
eating at crustaceans.
That's
Yeah,
how-
but
that's
you
why
talking
But
we're
you
all
my boy.
different.
So
Brandon, though.
you my boy. Brandon, I'm telling you, you ain't the same.
let's tell the truth.
Yo, we telling the truth. First of all, you ain't the same homie when it's me and you versus you being with the fellas.
No, but
You
that's
all fluid.
No, you know what I'm
Whatever.
saying? No, you know what I'm saying?
But
But your
your
core-
what you're
the
not-
core
what you're-
of
your
what you're
swag
talking
is
about.
different.
No. What you're talking about isn't related to what we're talking about. When I'm with you, there's you and I have known each other for 5-6
Right.
years. There's a level of
Right.
comfortability. I can
Right.
say things
Yeah.
that not everybody can handle. When I'm around them, I'm still Brandon. They just might not see the deeper aspects of me.
Right.
They might, you know what I'm saying?
But there is other aspects to you.
But there's-
so if you
there's
go
no-
to different
right.
places, there's
So-
different aspects to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get a different
No, but-
perspective.
Right, but all I'm saying is, if I were dating, which I'm not, sorry ladies, I'm one of the married dudes. So if I were dating, it's this simple. I see someone that I'm interested in. Hey, I really like you. I want to get to know you better. What does that look like? We figure that out. We can work that out together as a team. That's what the whole thing is about. It's not me trying to drive the whole thing, but I could lead that way too. None of that really matters. But she's not getting any other representative. She's not getting the best parts of me, and I'm not trying to reveal any worst parts. I should be willing and open and honest to tell her what I've been through.
But I think
If
the key
anything-
word, though, Brandon, is you keep saying, I should.
I really think it's important. We have to bring into the discussion the idea of just knowing yourself, knowing who you are and what's good for you. I think a lot of women. Joaquin posted this the other day that was really like yesterday, I think it was, where he said, "We don't see with our eyes, we see with our mind," and that's the key. Is like so many of us, right? Let's go to the Bible, right? Bible says, "Walk by faith, not by sight," right?
Sure.
Because we see stuff and we're driven by our desires. But the problem is what you desire might really not be good for you. I mean, all of us have experienced that on some level. Some sexy woman or a woman sees a man who has a certain look, or she digs the persona, but then she invests her time in him, and it just becomes not beneficial for her. Time wasted, money wasted,
So let me ask you this then. At what point should a person reasonably, and I know this is more, you know what I'm saying, you can't pinpoint it, but like, at what point should a woman be like, you know what, this just isn't healthy, I should walk away?
Real quick before that, because then I want to get to Joaquin's point. It's important to why not vet people? You know what I'm saying?
I think they do.
Yeah, like
to a degree, but if so,
Nah,
why do
I
they still end up in so many unhealthy relationships?
That's the question they're
That's
asking
what we
themselves
talking
every
about.
day.
And that brings
That's
up,
what we
that,
st-
that
right,
brings
so-
me to my point. Well, is
Yeah.
they end up in these unhealthy situations and they end up much deeper into the relationship than they, a sane person would be, because of this attachment to the idea of being in a relationship.
Right.
And that's my advice to women. What I think women need to know is to not enter into your interactions with men with this idea of being in a relationship so tightly in your grasp. Don't hold on to it so tightly. So don't become attached to the idea of marriage or a committed relationship. Approach these interactions with the intent of just enjoying yourself and just spending time with the person and living in the moment. Don't think about what it's going to mean for tomorrow. Just focus on today, right? And if it naturally develops into a committed relationship, great.
That's okay.
But if you're going into it with the intention of I'm dating this person because I'm looking for a husband, you're going to blind yourself to all of the red flags that would normally see you exiting this thing early before it got 2 years in, and now you're figuring out that you're with a terrible person.
Right.
That you could have probably found that out, the first date.
So let me ask you this. How much of that do you think is a result of women seemingly having a need to have a project?
I don't think it has. I don't think it's a trait that's specific to women. I think it's a trait that's specific to human beings, that we have these attachments that blind us to what's actually in front of us. Okay. For females, it's a little different because society and media has pushed on them this idea that they're to be a man's companion. Okay. And so the idea is that they need this man to be the head of household, and he's supposed to run the family, and he's supposed to be the breadwinner, so they need a supplement. This guy's supposed to be the major factor in the family, and I'm supposed to be secondary. And so now you're looking for this supplement, this guy, rather than just being 100% yourself and he's being 100% himself, and then now you have 200% when you come together, right? Mm-hmm. If you were just being who you are and focusing on your personal evolution, and then you happen to run into a guy who you guys vibed or whatever, and you spent time with each other, and then it developed naturally, those are the strongest bonds. Me and my wife didn't decide we were going to go on a date. We didn't meet and say, you know what, I'm attracted to you. You like me too, cool, let's go on a date on Tuesday, we're going to go to this place, right? We weren't even looking at each other romantically when we met. We were just both happened to be off. We worked a lot of hours in our schedule, and we both happened to be off on the same day, and just said, hey, let's go hang out in D.C. because we're both off. Not like, let's go on a date, let's go do this thing.
Oh, he just threw it together, they didn't even think about it. Like, he didn't put no time into it.
But see, she didn't think like that because it wasn't a date.
Right.
She wasn't looking at me like, oh, this is the guy I'm trying to date. And I wasn't looking at her like, oh, this is the girl I'm trying to date. We were both just off, and we wanted to hang out. And we just happened to, okay, let's go hang out together. Right? And we've literally been together since that day. Like, we had to make up an anniversary for ourselves because we didn't know when we got together, because it literally, there wasn't a, oh, you're my girlfriend now, or you're my boyfriend, or
that's cute,
we didn't have this, because that's the problem with most relationships is people, they're trying to move according to these rules, and it's saying this is how it's supposed to go.
That's
go like
organic.
This.
That's organic love. The problem is that love and many things have been identified for us, so it takes emotion away from what it actually is. Everybody wants to be loved. So the moment I say I love you,
oh my
now
gosh.
We got to get married. We got to we got to, right? So it completely takes away from the actual feeling, which is what he's talking about, of expression of love. Because now we think the expression of love is, I'm going to buy you an expensive ring, we're going to get married, we're going to do this and that.
And we're going to commit to each other regardless of how bad it feels. If it's not working, we're going to stay together because we said we love each other, and that means that we overlook all the bull and stay together. That's
being together forever is accumulation.
Loving you do that too.
Right. Being together forever is accumulation of days of enjoying each other.
Exactly.
And before you know it, forever has come.
Yep.
And that is what all relationships are supposed to be. It's supposed to be every day that I wake up, I'm going to make this day a loving day with you because you can leave me any moment. So let's do something to enjoy loving each other.
Yeah,
and then the days start accumulating, and then before you know it, you could take a player like me. I'm an ex-player. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
You believe it or not, man. With the teeth and all of that, well, I was still good, But I'm gonna tell you, as an ex-player, and anyone can say this, right? We all want to have that one person that we enjoy all day long. And before you know it, you find that you enjoy this person more than anyone else. So every day you want to be with that person. Yeah. And that is how relationships are supposed to develop. And as a man, if you really like a woman, you're supposed to make sure you're the one that she enjoys to be with more than her choices that are out there. And if you make that decision every single day, and guess what? That woman is going to call you and be with you every single day.
I actually think that's very pivotal. That was one of on my list of things women should know, is that it's a choice. You wake up every single day and you choose to be with the person that you're with. Now that doesn't just apply to women, that applies to men. I mean, y'all know my history, and California been a little brutal, dog.
It's the state's fault.
Right? Hey, it was not him.
California been taxing.
If you let my narrative, yes, it was California. My narrative was Cali, like, but I love Cali, so you know what I'm saying. There's no hate, but
I wish they all could be California.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, like, so I just know that we make that choice. I mean, I remember one night we went to.
Putting that in the universe is also what's limiting you from being.
Well, first of all, what you're not going to do is try to. So, this is what women.
It's not
need to
about
know.
me.
Yeah, right. We can address the men in the next episode.
You put in the universe as an obstacle is now an obstacle.
No, it definitely is. But like, fortunately for me, I've been able to learn, and I've been able to grow. I mean, y'all remember that night we went to karaoke and it went completely sideways.
We're not
going
to
to elaborate.
But
I'm just saying. But like, it was definitely it was definitely a learning experience for me.
Was.
So
after the show, I need to hear about that.
Sure don't.
It's
Oh, but I will.
It's crazy.
So for women, I look at it as, because as a man, I put myself in a position because I was like, you know what? As friends, we worked. I knew I had somebody that I could count on, lean on, depend on. She always had my back. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I allowed that to supersede
To blind you from
everything else. But then, I mean, I got a good group of dudes around me, and you're like, the first time they're like, "Hey, Trey, be smart." The second time, it's like, "You're a dumbass. We're not gonna discuss this again." Like,
you know what I mean? Remember that conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you were being an asshole. An asshole is when you ask me for advice,
But you're not
and
gonna
you
take
don't.
it.
So I'm throwing my advice into the hole.
I love
Right?
that word.
And so once I figure out that you're an asshole, don't ask me anymore. Yes. Like, oh, okay.
But see, the thing is, but guess what? But I got men around me that can be like, they can check me and be like, "Yo, Trey, dog, like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, literally, like when PS2 yokes you up, it's like, dude, get your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that hit different. You know what I'm saying? It hits different.
It lifts different too.
It definitely lifts different.
Yeah, it lifts different.
But look. So Kanjo was talking about basically having to choose love, basically.
Yeah.
Over
every day,
all
right?
rules,
And-
over all things.
And one of the things that I say, as well as it's important to remember, is that the person you wake up with tomorrow is not the person you fell in love with today.
That's right.
You're going to change, especially in a committed relationship when you're with somebody for years. Well, you will. It's inevitable.
And being open to her evolution.
You gotta you gotta fall in love with the new person. You have
That's right.
You have to re-fall in love
And you should
over
be
and
excited
over.
about it.
It's not the same love. The same love you had when you first met is not what sustains you for 20 years. Yeah. It's the new love you find every day with the new person.
So let me ask you this. So you guys are married. How long have you been married?
Don't give me the line. 12 years.
There we go.
6 years on August 8th. Just
right.
passed. Yeah.
Happy belated
Oh
anniversary.
no, I lied. It's 8 years.
No.
We've been together for 12.
Okay.
Mine is coming up. Come to think about it. Congratulations on
Congratulations.
Brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
You're not gonna mention me?
yours is coming up.
You're not gonna mention I'm married either. I guess on this show, guys, he's gonna get me in trouble.
Now
Now we
have you
know
been
what
paying
Trey's
attention?
saying.
You should now know who's married and who's single,
Yeah.
All right,
and who's
how long
in
have you been
situationships and all
I
that.
have been with my wife for 15 years.
Hey.
Okay, so in 15 years, because I kind of want to do this since everybody's got like a different, staggered time frame, even though you guys are a little closer. What is the one thing that you've learned since you've been married that you think, hey, women should know this or should be aware of? I get, you know what I'm saying?
As a married person or as
both, because you guys, the three of you have both. Actually, the four of you, because you were married as well at one point.
Oh,
so
we don't need no advice from him.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
and this is why those
I'm sorry,
pre-production text groups go sideways.
Oh my God. Right. Yeah.
But no, so give me the married perspective, something that you think women should know, and then back in your player days.
Well, I think it goes. Well, number one, my wife, like literally, she committed to me before I even knew. You know what I'm saying? Before I knew that's what I wanted. But I knew that I was marrying someone who had the traits of someone that I could grow with. And at the end of the day, as spirits, we're here on this planet to grow. So whoever you can continue to grow with is who you stay with. So we went into it. We didn't have this thing about we're going to be together forever, this and that. We're going to be together as long as we grow together. And as long as she gives me my space to grow and I give her her space to grow. So she's going to be different than me. I'm going to be different than her. Yeah. And differences is what makes us grow. The problem is people are so insecure that the moment that someone has a different idea or they're different than that person, then they feel like they're less of a person and they feel insecure. When in all actuality, the moment that your wife becomes different or brings a different idea or something like that, this is your opportunity to open up and actually grow from something that she's learning in her plight. You know what I'm saying? And in her growth. So it's about being open to the new person that they become. Because trust me, in 15 years, my wife is completely different than when I first met my wife. She was watching BET every day. Now she listens to country music every day.
Wow.
Now I don't know that has something to do with me or what it is, but I'm just saying when you talk about growth, like she found herself because I'm the type of person that I'm very universal. So for me, she don't know what to expect. You know,
as don't we.
Nobody knows what to expect from me.
Okay,
but she loves that aspect of our life because she's very focused and centered and like like she's a type A personality, whereas me, I'm all over the place with it. But it keeps us guessing, and it keeps us growing together because we both have different things. Now I'm learning to be more structured and more centered because my wife has gotten so strong in it.
Isn't that what a relationship is supposed to be, though?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, when you spend time with somebody like your life partner, whatever that means to you, the amount of time you spend around that person, you guys should be rubbing off on each other.
Right.
To some extent, to where you're finding this equilibrium where, like, I'm still me, but I'm taking on some of your traits.
Right.
Or, the best parts you, the things that I was missing, you're my supplement. I'm getting those. It's just, I'll tell you in a heartbeat, you don't want me to go in your kitchen and cook anything.
Right.
Like, anything.
At all.
Nothing. You know what I'm saying? My wife's a chef. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that wasn't something we planned. That's just how it happened.
Right,
And it was organic. And again, we find that all of our anywhere where we're deficient, the other one is holding us down. They're strong in those different places.
Right.
She was very much raised in a family where it was very religious, very strictly Christian, going to church every day of the week. Southern family, so you really are supposed to listen to your elders and don't strike out, don't have ideas of your own. You kind of follow path set for you. And I was completely the opposite. I was like a really independent, do my own thing. I think my own thoughts, and I'm going to go my own direction. And so she got a lot of that from me, and I got a lot of her more traditional values and home values and stuff like that from her, and it's made a really beautiful union. And one thing to remember is that that's not going to happen instantaneously.
No.
Yeah.
So if you meet somebody who has different values from you, that's not necessarily a deal breaker. You know what I mean? That's not something to say, okay, we don't. I'm Catholic. You're Baptist or whatever. We can't talk to each other. So that's something to know, ladies, too. Is just your differences aren't necessarily deal breakers. It just depends on what values they are.
Ladies,
You got to really analyze what the values are.
Yeah.
One other thing, ladies, that you guys have to know. Like when my wife met me, I was a player. Like straight up. And I was divorced with 3 stepchildren and a son, and I raised my stepchildren as my own children. So technically I was divorced with 4 kids, player, bad credit, everything you could think of, that was me. Bad credit, dead-end job, and all the little things that most women list as a criteria of a man that's going to be with them forever, I was none of those. None of those things. I was a player, bad credit, and if you got a player who ain't got no money and he's still getting it, that's the worst kind, because that dude is getting it while he's broke. You can imagine what he'd be doing if he had money, right? That's the worst kind of guy to get. And my wife, literally, she saw something in me before I even saw it in myself. I didn't think I was going to stop being a player. My wife committed to me almost right away. And I think what it was the energy that we had together. She recognized it, and she was like, no, this man can be something. This can grow into something. and I enjoy his company. Even though he's crazy and all over the place, I enjoy his company. So she literally attached to me and taught me things about myself that I didn't know. And before I knew it, there was no woman that compared to her in terms of time spent together. So I wanted to spend more time with her too. And then it grew into marriage and kids, and 15 years later, and we still
Humping around.
Talking about it.
Right.
There it is.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Oh, Lord.
What do you all think about the rise of the alpha female? Because
think it's dangerous.
because society has changed.
Yeah.
You know what
I think I'm gonna address this in the what men need to know, is what I think.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all,
Because if I'm an alpha male, I shouldn't be telling women how they need to change to fix this relationship demographic. I need to be fixing it myself.
well, first of all, I'm not saying they need to fix anything.
I'm saying it's our fault.
I'm asking, no. Listen.
Right.
Joaquin,
Yeah.
I agree 100% with that, right? But I'm just saying, as a whole, I find women, and we meet women on a regular basis who are alpha females, whether that was because they were forced into that role,
it's natural.
or what have
always-
you.
I think it's natural progression. There have always been alpha females.
That's
Joan of
right.
Arc and all the. There's been warrior females throughout history.
Through Egypt,
It's
there were
just
female pharaohs.
not in our
It's
society.
just
It wasn't.
society has, and religion and society.
There's society and religion,
it's
but
become
there's
a
also
for sure,
right.
yeah,
Well, there's
but
female, in other countries, there's females run the government, and
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
it's just in America, in our society, females have been second class citizens for so long.
In a lot of societies,
that
though.
now that they're getting equality, and they're moving a certain way and picking up some of this masculine energy and being more aggressive. In general, we're
They
seeing
have
more
the
prevalent.
masculine energy.
Right, they
Women
had it.
have testosterone in them.
Yeah,
Right,
we
being
have
able to
that shit.
show
You
it
get
now.
what I'm
but it's
saying?
different
So
degrees.
it's
So,
there.
so there is a biological contribution to this. Like,
Right,
I don't want to. I
absolutely.
want to say stuff that makes it feel like there's no difference between a man and a female, because there's definitely differences.
Right, absolutely.
Right, and we
Yes,
do
yes.
have roles to play.
Yes.
The word "man" comes from a word that means to initiate.
Right.
Right, that's where the word "man" comes from. So the woman is made to respond, and we are made to initiate. So ultimately, I'm kind of with you, because if anything goes wrong, it kind of
Everything
is
falls
our
out of
fault,
order,
because we are supposed to set. Everybody's like, "Oh, the happy wife, happy life." Nah, like no, because they don't set the tone. We set the tone, and if we set it right, they will biologically respond. They don't even have a choice at that point. However, they have not met enough actual men
Right.
to know what their nature is.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
In most cases, because men, let's face it, are a dying breed. Like, I don't, mostly when I talk to a female about a man that she's dealing with, almost every time I ask myself, how, these people exist? Like, how,
All the time.
it's always like that. I'm like, how are these people?
I'm blown away.
But
by
there's
the
so
stories.
many of those stories, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, but no.
Which-
did you understand that? Did he say that, or? And it's always no. Yes,
Or-
this is what he said. This is what he did.
Or it's even worse when men are dumb enough to put this in text messages, like in written form.
Yeah, then they're like, no,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's like,
send
that's
you
like
a,
you showing.
I'm gonna
just go
send
on
you a
Facebook.
screenshot, and it's like, well,
You don't
okay.
even need to. You can get it live right now. Go on
Right.
Facebook and say some, chauvinist,
Yeah, see who jumps on the bandwagon.
It's gonna be full of dudes like, yeah, like it's
So
and I'm like,
I think in order to, like, we're telling somebody what they need to know, right? So in order to tell somebody what they need to know and for them to listen to you, at least if they were me, you would have to establish with me that you are considering where I'm coming from. Because if you're not considering where I'm coming from and trying to look through my eyes, then you're not equipped to tell me what I need to know. And even if you are, I'm not going to feel like you are, so it's not going to work, right?
lame.
So let's talk about some of the things that women deal with. Like, I started to relate to this one recently in my music career, because technically music is my first love. That's what I fell in love with first at the age of 18 months, right? So, and I never stopped doing it, but I got to the point recently where I kind of fell out of love with music. I was just thinking about doing comedy and just acting and just trying to miss it for once, and just not do it long enough to miss it and then come back to it. And then Dr. Dre retained me. So no. But no, can't go now.
First world problem.
But I did have that issue, and then now that I'm 41, I started feeling a clock. Like, I'm a dude, And I never felt a clock before, and I've always known that women always feel it. They always have a idea of where they are in the timeline of their life, and they make most of their decisions based upon that. This is where I am in my development process, so I need to be making this decision right now. This is how long I can have kids, and this is where it's dangerous to have kids, and this is where I can't even have them no more, and I want kids, right? These are real things. These are real thoughts. So to some extent, I want the women to understand that it's not an easy for us to say type of thing, because it kind of is easy for us to say, wait for the right man to come along when we don't have ovaries.
Yeah,
we're viral all the time,
and we also know that these other dudes are not from these crazy terrible horror stories we're hearing.
Yeah,
the dudes they're running into are just not quality dudes.
They're
waiting for a quality
dudes.
guy.
Which clouds my vision.
It's important. It's important to go with. It's important to, like, I did a post a long time ago on Instagram called "What It Is," because a pimp will come up to you and be like, "Hey, what it is, shawty?" But not only is it a pimp greeting, but it's also something that we should focus on because everything doesn't have to have a end zone. Can we enjoy the 20-yard line?
All right.
Can we enjoy the 50-yard line?
Say something that's going to really jack men up.
Should we say that for the next one?
No, we're going to put it in this one. We're going to jack men up right now because I am a female advocate for real. And I have to disagree with a lot of the views that men have of women and the views that women have of themselves because of the views that men have of them. First of all, women, you guys run the universe.
Take your time.
And you guys run the world and don't know it. You guys don't realize the power that you have in the production of this whole thing because there's been a psychology that's placed on mankind that makes you guys think you are not powerful. Understand this, that a woman is in charge of when a child is being formulated. A child's ears, nose, mouth, they all come from a woman when they're being formulated inside, right? So the woman is, in essence, in charge of our senses. So from the time we're being constructed inside the belly, the woman is actually the one who is giving us our ability to think, see, hear, taste. All of that is being produced by the woman inside of her womb. When a child is born, their first lessons, their first God is their mother. The most important years of their lives where they learn the most is from their mother. That is their first God. So when you see a man that is not a good man, you have to think back to the process in which they were conceived, in which they were produced by the mother, and you have to say that women, you got to understand that if you want good men in this world,
gotta make them.
You make them. And it starts from there.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
That sounds like a project to me. That's
Time out.
It almost sounds like we're saying it's the woman's responsibility if there's bad men in the world.
Well, no.
what are you doing? That's what you need to know.
What's wrong with
You
y'all?
can take it that way.
No. But I get it. But I get it.
I
because-
understand everything he's saying.
Yeah,
I didn't like that very last part.
Well, Brandon,
We
it's
pick
okay.
and choose what we like. I told you the men ain't gonna like
It's
this.
okay. It's okay because in the next
let me-
episode we will elaborate and be able to dig into.
I can elaborate on
speak
the
my
biology.
point on. I'll speak my point on that now.
Okay.
So here's the issue. God has already defined all of this. The problem is we ourselves, humans, break out of that description of what we're supposed to do. Men are not responsible
That's how I
for
feel
what,
about it.
Yeah, women are not responsible for what a man is and becomes. Men are not responsible for what a woman is and becomes. I mean, we play roles in that in people's dysfunction, but we're not ultimately responsible. God defined all this. I agree that women are extremely powerful, much more powerful than they take ownership over. You read the first book of the Bible in Genesis. God created women to be our helper. I know a lot of women don't like that word helper, but if you think about it, God looked at Adam and said, "You can't do this on your own.
Yeah.
You need a woman. You can't do this without her." So they play such a pivotal part in everything that we're supposed to do in the world, and we can't do it without them. right? So there's that. So there's that aspect of it. But then there are roles that we are supposed to play within that. And I think that goes back to what Bluetooth was saying. I think men are primarily the ones that are supposed to lead. It doesn't mean that women can't lead. My wife leads the household at times, but I'm definitely the driving force. But that means I have to do it with love, and I have to understand how it benefits my entire family. I can't do it with selfish. As soon as I add in okay, I'm doing this and it's just going to benefit me, it's not really even love.
Yeah.
So let me play devil's advocate.
So there's aspects that
You got devil on both of your shoulders.
I know it's about to come too.
Okay, wait. Before you do that. Everything I said was just a setup. So let me go ahead and say what I was about to say. So I was talking about the time thing and the fact that you feel like you're running out of it. And I had from 18 months to now to become as good as I am at music. I often tell people I should be better than I am because I started a long time ago, right? I just started the photography thing. I basically just started the comedy thing. So now I'm starting now at things, and I'm looking at it like I know what it takes to learn and get better at things. I don't have another 40 years to learn how to take good pictures. I don't have 40 years to learn how to be a good comedian. I'm gonna have to find a way to accelerate this or just quit. So I have those thoughts like, man, time really is running out. Like, you don't have an unlimited amount of time. And I have the luxury of starting to think that way at 40.
Right.
But absolutely no woman waits to think about that until they're 40.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So they are making decisions based upon real motivations that come from things other than, is he a good man?
Right.
And one of those things is, while my ovaries still work. There's very happy people that never get married. There's very happy people that never had kids. So is the ultimate destination kids, or is the ultimate destination happiness? If the ultimate destination is happiness, then you define that.
Right.
The world can't define that for you. You define it. And if time moves on and you get to menopause and you can't have kids no more, that makes you unhappy. I think part of the reason that we have a problem is how we word things. That made me unhappy. Technically, nothing makes you anything, right? So he made me mad. No, he did something that I reacted to with anger. I became angry as a result of what he did, but he didn't make me mad. Because I could get to a point in my spiritual development where that thing doesn't make me mad. He did the same thing. So nothing makes you happy or makes you mad, or kids don't make you happy and all that. We become happy because we reach a place of happiness, period. Let that be it, and you define it how you want to define it, and let life tell you. Let life co-write this with you. Because if time goes on and something didn't happen, maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe if you press in that direction, you'll be less happy because you try to take control of life when there are things, there's a higher power guiding this whole situation that you're not taking into account. You just want what you want. And a lot of times what you want ain't really what you want.
Right.
It ain't.
Right.
You want to do all this just so you can have kids? But he ain't shit. I mean, I don't know how else to say. So, so do you want that? Do you want kids that have a bad father? Is that what you want? Wouldn't it be better not to have kids? Right? So there are alternatives to what we want. And if we're flexible in life, and if we choose to make our own definitions of what happiness is, we allow ourselves to be happy no matter what, because we didn't place all that on it. So my thing is, you have time. I'm not saying you have time to have kids. I'm not saying you have time to get married. I'm saying you have time to be happy. Mm-hmm. So you can sit back. What I did was I sat back and said, everything in me wants to speed up because I know what it takes to learn. I play 5 instruments. I taught myself. I really have an idea of what it takes and how long it takes to learn a thing. And I'm like, yeesh, I don't have that much longer to spend on this earth as I've just spent on music. And then I realized, wait, when I was learning music, there are things about music that were teaching me things about this. Somebody asked me, I went on a yacht trip, and the captain of the boat was like, okay, so I was on it with Dre. I have to say that because that's part of what he asked me. So he said, he said, well, you know, we were making music and I was taking pictures. So I was showing him the pictures and he saw something he wants in his house. And he was like, well, what do you do for Dre? and I was like, well, I do a lot of things for Dre. He's like, well, how do you do that on that level where you'd even be here? And you also do this and I want to put this in my house. And I was like, well, light has frequencies and sound has frequencies. Really all I'm doing is arranging frequencies that different organs take in a pleasing way for those organs. That's all I'm doing. It's really the same thing. And then when I realized that, when I had to tell him that, I realized for myself, time isn't wasted. Like, it's not really wasted. When you were learning all these things, you make yourself better at making the next decision that you make. So that time is cash in the decision bank. That's going to make it easier if you look at it that way to make the next decision that you make. Maybe this dude that you just met on the street ain't supposed to be your husband. Maybe you're just supposed to learn something from him. Maybe you're just supposed to hang out with him. Maybe he's just supposed to teach you a new way to do something that's going to benefit you in the next decision that you have. Why can't you just let that happen? Some things are make and some things are let.
Right.
We make these things happen and we let these things happen. And the discernment of which is which is what women and men need to know.
All right,
I
that's
mean,
a good way to wrap it up.
That's the best way to wrap it up. Next time on the Filter Free Show, we will tackle what men need to know. And yeah, that ain't gonna be pretty, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a lot better for us, because then we really ain't got to sugarcoat it. We can get right to
It's gonna be tough.
yeah. So next time, we'll see you then.